of Cleopatra's historical character. And I need to come to Egypt, to go to the field, to see these remains of this temple, to be sure that this remains has the possibility.
The DNA of Cleopatra has finally been analyzed, and what it revealed is terrifying. But before we dive into the shocking truth, let's rewind centuries. Cleopatra, the last pharaoh of Egypt, wasn't only fighting Rome. She was battling something far closer to her own biology. Her family tree was twisted with secrets, filled with risks that could have destroyed her before she even ruled. While history remembers her as a brilliant strategist and seductive queen, hidden beneath the legends lies a story of danger, mystery, and survival against her own bloodline. Some say her intelligence and charm were gifts. Others wonder if they were shields, protecting her from the hidden curse woven into her Ptolemaic dynasty. Across time, the tombs, the tunnels, and the artifacts
to Cleopatra's lost tomb. The tunnel is carved into the rock at a depth of about 13 meters below the ground.
Whisper fragments of a truth that scientists could only now uncover. What they found doesn't just rewrite history, it challenges everything we thought we knew about the last pharaoh. Stay with us as we reveal the shocking DNA analysis of Cleopatra, the secrets it uncovered about her family, and the terrifying reality that history almost hid from us. By the end, you'll see Cleopatra like never before. The shadowed bloodline of the Ptolemies. Cleopatra's story begins long before her birth, in a dynasty drenched in secrets and ambition. The Ptolemies were not ordinary rulers. They came to power after Alexander the Great's empire fractured, and they were determined to keep control over Egypt, no matter the cost. Their power was absolute, but the methods they used to protect it were risky, even dangerous. Sibling marriages, uncle-niece unions, and even more extreme intermarriages were a common practice. These unions were meant to preserve their bloodline, their claim to the throne, but they carried a hidden price. Genetic vulnerabilities passed silently from one generation to the next. For centuries, historians noted peculiarities in the Ptolemaic rulers. Some were weak, some suffered deformities, and many had short lifespans. Cleopatra's ancestors, while ambitious and politically skilled, were plagued by what modern science calls pedigree collapse. Essentially, their family tree didn't expand, it folded inward. Genes repeated themselves, flaws compounded, and the risk of inherited disorders grew with every inbreeding cycle. Cleopatra was born into this genetic web. The odds of surviving intact were slim. Some experts believe her parents, Ptolemy XII and Cleopatra V, may have been full siblings. Even her grandparents had similar interwoven unions. The dynasty had been playing a high-stakes genetic game for centuries, and Cleopatra entered a battlefield she could not see. But Cleopatra was different. Unlike her frail or short-lived relatives, she grew into a woman of extraordinary intelligence, charm, and endurance. How did she survive when her family history suggested she might not? Some argue it was sheer luck, a one-in-a-million alignment of genes that bypassed the inherited weaknesses. Others suggest that she inherited not just her parents' blood, but also the resilience of generations of rulers who had faced the same silent threat and survived. Even in her youth, Cleopatra displayed traits that set her apart. She spoke multiple languages fluently, mastered mathematics and astronomy, and showed an uncanny political instinct. Her early environment was both nurturing and dangerous. Surrounded by tutors and scholars, she gained knowledge and strategy, but her life was also under constant threat. Political rivalries, palace intrigue, and sibling rivalry were ever present. Arsinoe, her younger sister, would later become a deadly rival, but even in childhood, Cleopatra's ability to navigate danger was extraordinary. These early challenges were more than political. They were biological. The risk of genetic disorders in her family meant that her development, her health, and even her energy levels were a mystery. Modern researchers, analyzing similar royal bloodlines, Note that children born from repeated close-kin unions often face growth restrictions, skeletal deformities, or cognitive challenges. Cleopatra's body, however, defied these odds. Her survival was remarkable, almost miraculous. Yet, hints of struggle may have always been there. Ancient texts describe her as smaller in stature, physically delicate, but bursting with energy and drive. Scholars now wonder, was this the result of her genetics subtly shaping her abilities? Her high energy, sharp mind, and relentless drive could have been nature's way of compensating for the silent risks embedded in her DNA. The Ptolemies' shadow stretched beyond Egypt. Their ambition was entwined with danger, their bloodline a mixture of brilliance and risk. Cleopatra inherited both. Her genius and charisma weren't just political tools. They may have been survival mechanisms, forged in response to centuries of genetic pressure. She became the perfect example of how life can adapt against seemingly insurmountable odds. A ruler in a palace full of secrets, yet also a survivor of a dynasty that threatened to consume her from within. The story of Cleopatra's bloodline is more than history. It's a warning, a glimpse into the hidden forces that shape life even at the highest levels of power. As we explore further, we will see how archaeology, DNA analysis, and modern science begin to peel back these layers, revealing a queen who was far more than legend, a woman battling Rome and her own biology in ways that no story had ever fully captured. Archaeological breakthroughs and hidden tombs. Long after Cleopatra vanished from history, her secrets lay buried beneath centuries of sand, stone, and urban sprawl. For generations, scholars believed her tomb was lost forever, hidden somewhere beneath the streets of Alexandria, swallowed by earthquakes, floods, and the relentless tide of time. Yet one determined woman challenged that assumption, Kathleen Martinez, a criminal lawyer turned archaeologist.
Kathleen Martinez came to visit me. She was very cunning. She was very smart.
What if Cleopatra was buried somewhere else entirely?
Who approached Cleopatra's disappearance not as a legend, but as a cold case. Martinez refused to follow the beaten path of history. While most researchers searched in obvious places, she looked where others had ignored. Her instincts, careful study of ancient texts, and understanding of geography led her to Taposiris Magna, a forgotten temple about 30 miles west of Alexandria. At first glance, it was just ruins, crumbling walls, broken columns, and centuries of sand covering its secrets. But Martinez sensed there was more. Her team discovered a remarkable anomaly beneath the temple, a tunnel stretching over 4,000 feet, carved through solid limestone. Its engineering rivaled some of the greatest ancient constructions, a hidden passage that likely led to something precious, something the queen wanted protected at all costs. Why would anyone invest such labor and precision unless it hid a secret of enormous importance? Inside the temple complex, Martinez uncovered something even more astonishing. Mummies, arranged carefully in rock-cut tombs, contained golden amulets in place of tongues. The Egyptians believed these golden tongues allowed the dead to speak to Osiris, the lord of the underworld. The presence of these artifacts suggested that the individuals buried there were more than common nobles. They were Cleopatra's closest allies, her inner circle, waiting for her in death as they had in life. The discoveries hinted at a larger picture. Cleopatra's tomb may have been designed as a sanctuary, shielded from the eyes of Rome, from those who sought to parade her in chains. Archaeologists had found not just bones and stones, but a narrative etched into the earth itself, a story of fear, strategy, and unyielding determination. Every tunnel, every burial artifact, every piece of gold whispered the queen's foresight, her insistence on controlling even her final journey. Yet the most striking aspect of Martinez's findings was what they revealed about DNA and biology. Among the remains, researchers found individuals whose physical traits could provide clues to Cleopatra's family tree. These discoveries set the stage for the groundbreaking DNA analyses that would follow decades later. The tunnel and tombs were more than archaeological wonders. They were biological archives, waiting to tell the story of a queen whose life and lineage had been carefully curated, almost surgically preserved by time and secrecy. This hidden world also revealed the extraordinary lengths Cleopatra went to protect her legacy. Every decision, from the placement of tombs to the choice of attendants buried nearby, spoke of a ruler who understood the fragility of life, the dangers lurking in both politics and heredity. Her battles were not just with Caesar, Antony, or Octavian, they were against time, against nature, and against the silent threats hidden in her bloodline. As we piece together the ruins of Taposiris Magna and the tunnels beneath, a picture emerges of a queen who foresaw her own mortality and acted with meticulous care. She constructed a final stage, a place where history and biology intersected. It's in these quiet, shadowed halls that the story of her DNA begins to make sense, revealing why modern science would eventually uncover truths that are as shocking as they are fascinating. Cleopatra's tomb, once thought lost, was more than a burial site. It was a testament to strategy, survival, and a genetic legacy. And while we may not have yet walked through the final chamber, the discoveries of Martinez and her team brought us closer than ever to understanding the woman behind the myth, the ruler, the strategist, and the survivor, whose DNA would ultimately rewrite history. The DNA revelation. After centuries of mystery, science finally caught up with Cleopatra's story. The DNA of the last pharaoh, once only a speculation, was now under the microscope. But the revelations were far stranger and more terrifying than anyone expected. Researchers didn't just want to know her ancestry, they wanted to understand her health, her lineage, and the hidden burdens carried in her blood. The breakthrough came after decades of painstaking work. Forensic anthropologists traced skeletal remains potentially linked to her family, including individuals buried near Taposiris Magna and sites tied to her exiled sister, Arsinoe. Old records and photographs preserve details of skulls long thought lost during wars and disasters. Using modern micro-CT scanning and DNA extraction techniques, scientists reconstructed high-resolution genetic maps, even from bones that had sat untouched for centuries. What they found was astonishing. Cleopatra's family, the Ptolemies, was not only inbred politically, but also genetically at extreme risk. The dynasty's obsessive sibling marriages had accumulated mutations, recessive genes that normally hide behind dominant counterparts. In simpler terms, her family carried genetic time bombs, potential deformities, and metabolic disorders waiting to emerge. Yet Cleopatra herself seemed almost untouched. She bore children, led armies, negotiated with Rome, and charmed some of the most powerful men in the world. Her DNA suggested a near-miraculous alignment of healthy genes, a survivor of centuries of inbreeding. Modern geneticists would call it a mosaic survival, a rare occurrence where the genetic lottery favored her. Her vitality, intellect, and energy might not have been mere personality traits. They could have been the result of extraordinary genetic luck. The analysis also revealed something darker. Within the Ptolemaic line, researchers found markers of potential autoimmune disorders, metabolic challenges, and predispositions that may have influenced behavior, appearance, and lifespan. Graves' disease, for example, could explain historical accounts of Cleopatra's relentless energy, her insomnia, and her dynamic presence. Symptoms of thyroid imbalance, bulging eyes, rapid metabolism, and hyperactivity matched descriptions of her charisma and stamina. It was possible that what history celebrated as brilliance and charm was intertwined with the burdens of her biology. Even more shocking was what the DNA hinted at about her siblings. Arsinoe, Cleopatra's sister, who had once threatened her throne, may have carried different genetic risks. other relatives buried near the temple showed deformities or abnormalities, confirming that the family line was walking a fine line between survival and collapse. Cleopatra's life, already extraordinary politically, was equally extraordinary genetically. These discoveries challenge everything we thought we knew. Cleopatra wasn't just a brilliant strategist or a captivating figure. She was a survivor, both politically and biologically, navigating threats that no textbook could explain. Every decision she made, whom to marry, how to bear children, and even how to manage her health, may have been influenced by an awareness of her own genetic reality. The DNA results also rewrote debates about her ancestry. Earlier claims about African heritage in her family were reassessed with hard evidence. While Cleopatra's lineage was Macedonian Greek, the genetic findings revealed a dynasty struggling with internal risks that history and mythology had never fully acknowledged. The allure of her image, the Queen of the Nile, radiant and commanding, now carries an added layer of understanding. Her survival was both a political triumph and a biological anomaly. The implications extend beyond fascination. Cleopatra's DNA is a window into the delicate balance between history and biology, power and vulnerability. It reminds us that the greatest battles are not always fought in armies or courts. Sometimes, they are fought inside the very cells of a person, changing the course of history in ways no one could see. As we look deeper, the story becomes almost unimaginable. Here was a queen whose life was a chessboard of strategy, courage, and survival, yet her most hidden opponent may have been the very blood that ran through her veins. The DNA analysis didn't just tell us about her ancestry, it revealed a silent war fought within, a fight she won every day she ruled Egypt, commanded Rome's attention, and walked through history unbroken. The medical mysteries and genetic challenges. Cleopatra's life was extraordinary in every sense. But beneath the glamour and power, her body carried secrets that could have destroyed her. Modern genetic analysis shows that the Ptolemaic dynasty was a closed loop of siblings and cousins marrying to preserve power. While this kept the throne in the family, it also amplified hidden recessive genes, increasing the risk of deformities, metabolic issues, and early death. Historical records hint at these challenges. Her great-granduncle, Ptolemy VIII, was described as morbidly obese, with limbs too weak to carry his weight. Her father, Ptolemy XII, was reportedly frail and self-indulgent. Scholars now believe these weren't just personal flaws, they were symptoms of a dynasty plagued by genetic disorders. The patterns in Cleopatra's family suggest a high likelihood of thyroid problems, bone deformities, and other metabolic challenges. Yet Cleopatra seemed immune to the most obvious effects. She ruled with unmatched energy, bore children, led armies, and commanded Rome's greatest leaders. Some experts call her survival a genetic miracle, but the reality may have been more nuanced. The same DNA that threatened deformity could also create extraordinary resilience in rare cases. Cleopatra's body, fragile as it might have been, was built to survive, adapt, and endure. Ancient accounts provide subtle clues. Plutarch mentions her small stature and delicate frame, not statuesque but effective in diplomacy and war. Her agility and intellectual sharpness might have compensated for physical vulnerability, a survival strategy honed over years of navigating political and biological dangers. Health management was likely part of her strategy. Cleopatra had access to the vast pharmacological knowledge of Egypt. From opium to blue lotus wine, she may have used natural remedies to ease pain, regulate energy, and maintain focus. Reports of her elaborate beauty routines may have combined aesthetics with medical purposes, masking minor deformities or effects of metabolic conditions. The genetic challenges of her lineage weren't just about appearance. They may have influenced behavior, temperament, and decision-making. Hyperthyroid conditions, for instance, can cause heightened energy, impulsivity, and intense focus traits Cleopatra displayed in abundance. Her legendary charisma and fearlessness in battle may have been intertwined with her body's internal struggles. Yet the story of her genetics isn't just about Cleopatra. Her siblings, cousins, and extended family illustrate the broader picture of the Ptolemaic line. Some succumbed to deformities, others lived brief lives, and a few, like Cleopatra, escaped the most severe effects. The boy discovered in Ephesus, linked to the family, had severe physical anomalies, highlighting the fragile balance the queen herself had navigated. Every coin minted, every portrait sculpted, and every historical anecdote now carries an added layer of meaning. Cleopatra wasn't just surviving political intrigue, she was surviving the biological lottery of her dynasty. Her genius, her charm, and her stamina were not mere traits. They were victories over her own DNA. This deep dive into her genetics challenges everything we thought about historical figures. It shows that even the most celebrated leaders faced hidden battles, sometimes invisible to historians, but crucial to their survival. Cleopatra's triumph was not just over Rome, it was over the very code that defined her existence, a silent war won within the cells of a queen. As we prepare to uncover the final pieces of her story, the DNA and medical evidence reveal a reality more complex than legend. Cleopatra was a strategist, a ruler, and a survivor, and the deepest battle of all may have been the one waged inside her own body. The legacy and the genetic truth. Cleopatra's story doesn't end with her death on the banks of the Nile. Her legacy stretches across centuries, entwined with myths, politics, and now, science. The DNA analysis sheds light not only on her health and ancestry, but also on the risks she tried to escape for her children and dynasty. Her children were central to her strategy. Cleopatra had 4 known children, including Caesarion, the son of Julius Caesar. In a family plagued by inbreeding, producing healthy heirs was a challenge. The genetic analysis suggests that she consciously avoided the Ptolemaic tradition of marrying close relatives. Instead, she aligned herself with outsiders like Caesar and Mark Antony. This was more than a political alliance. It was a biological lifeline. Cleopatra understood, perhaps instinctively, that the survival of her bloodline required fresh DNA. Every union was a calculated move to protect her children from the hidden dangers encoded in her family's genes. The revelations about her own DNA also cast a new light on historical accounts of her personality. Her boundless energy, her intelligence, and her daring could have been influenced by the unique combination of genes she inherited. Hyperthyroidism, if present, may have fueled her restlessness, her rapid speech, and her risk-taking behavior. Traits admired by history may have been intertwined with a genetic struggle that demanded constant adaptation. Meanwhile, other members of her family tell a darker story. The boy discovered in the octagon tomb of Ephesus, initial thought to be Arsinoe, revealed severe developmental disorders. His fate reflects the consequences of centuries of inbreeding, a grim warning of the fragility Cleopatra sought to overcome. The contrast between her survival and his tragedy underscores how extraordinary her resilience truly was. Cleopatra's legacy also reshapes how we view historical beauty and charisma. Coins and statues show a queen with distinctive features, a strong aquiline nose, pronounced chin, and a commanding presence. Far from the romanticized image of a flawless beauty, these traits reveal a survivor, someone who used intellect, charm, and chemistry to mask vulnerabilities. Her mastery of cosmetics and pharmacology may have been as much about health and survival as about vanity. The DNA evidence also challenges centuries of assumptions about her ancestry. Cleopatra was a Macedonian Greek, yet she ruled a diverse Egypt. Misinterpretations about her ethnicity were common, fueled by myth and popular media. Science now confirms her lineage, while also revealing the genetic perils she overcame. Her life illustrates how survival, brilliance, and legacy can coexist with hidden biological struggles, shaping history in ways few could comprehend. Ultimately, Cleopatra's story is a reminder of the fragile balance between power and biology. Every political maneuver, every alliance, and every child she bore carried the weight of her dynasty's genetic history. Her triumph was not just against Rome, but against the silent, relentless forces within her own cells. The DNA of Cleopatra uncovers a queen who was brilliant, daring, and human, navigating a world where her greatest battles were sometimes invisible to the naked eye. Her legacy continues to fascinate because it is real, complex, and terrifying. Cleopatra survived a genetic lottery that would have crushed many, ruling as one of history's most legendary figures. And now, with science revealing her DNA, we see the depth of her struggle and the genius with which she overcame it. A reminder that behind every legend lies a truth more extraordinary than fiction. Cleopatra's story is far more than legends and myths. DNA analysis has uncovered a queen who battled not just enemies in Rome, but the hidden threats within her own body. Her brilliance, energy, and resilience weren't just gifts. They were victories over a genetic legacy that could have destroyed her. The more we learn, the more we realize how complex and extraordinary her life truly was. She wasn't just the face of Egypt. She was a survivor, a strategist, and a genius navigating a world of politics, power, and biology. Now, as science continues to unlock secrets buried for centuries, we are left with one question. How much of history has been shaped by the unseen battles of our ancestors? Cleopatra's life reminds us that survival can be as much about genetics as it is about courage and intellect. Every coin, every statue, and every story of her reign carries echoes of these hidden struggles. If this revelation about Cleopatra fascinated you, stay connected. Don't forget to like this video, share it with friends who love history, and subscribe to our channel for more incredible stories that blend science and mystery. We want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Which part of Cleopatra's life shocked you the most? Stay with us, because next, we'll uncover secrets about the world's most legendary figures that history never told. History never told. History never told. History never